Hi, my name is Wade Tolles. I'm a senior AI application specialist for the IBM Engineering tools. And for the next few minutes, we're going to be talking about how to export requirements from the Engineering Requirements Manager tool to an Excel spreadsheet. A couple of things we want to keep in mind before we get started. First of all, when you export artifacts, you are exporting the view that you're in. Therefore, any columns that you want to include must be included in the view. Next, exported files will include metadata at the bottom of the page. Don't delete that. The tool uses that to keep track of what it's doing. If you want to re-import after making changes, you must have the ID, the name, the artifact type, and the primary text columns. Now, the tool itself, whether you include the ID field or not, will include that in the export. Just don't delete that before you re-import what you've changed. Remember that exported data is not formatted. So every time you export a spreadsheet, it will end up in this scrunched up format that you'll have to reformat so that you can read it. Also remember that images are not exported. So if you've got a pretty picture somewhere in one of your requirements, that's not going to end up in your Excel spreadsheet. Finally, exports are not cumulative. That means that each export that you do is independent of the others. It will be named export or export 1 or 2 or whichever number depending on how many times you export your information. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into our demo. First of all, we're using the Parking System Requirements project within the Quick Start programs. And because our all requirements view here has other things mixed in with the requirements, I went ahead and created a couple of views so that I could only see certain things. First, I created a public view, which excluded everything except for system requirements. But then I went back and created a smaller personal view that only included artifacts or requirements that had the word vehicles in them. So we're going to start with that one. Note that I have pared down my view here to only include a few columns. That would be the name and the artifact type and the primary text and the ID. These are the required fields. Now you can include additional fields, whatever fields that you've got information in, such as if you've got a validated by, you've got a link to a test case, or if you've got review information or anything else in there, you can include that column in your export. Note, however, that if you include any system maintained field, like modified by, or modified on, or created by, these fields are maintained by the system. So even if you export them, and even if you change them in the spreadsheet, when you go to re-import them, it will not import. It will actually throw an error saying that these are system maintained fields. So there's really no reason to include those fields in an export. So let's go ahead and select all of our requirements. And then what we'll do is we'll click the little icon here to the left of those requirements, and we're going to export the artifacts. We'll pick XLSX because I do have Excel here, and then OK. And in this case, it's just a few requirements, so it immediately created an export file. In this case, it called it export 3 because I've done a few others. And note we have our scrunched up version of our requirements in our spreadsheet. So let's open those up a little bit, and we'll see that all of our requirements and the artifact type and name and primary text and all information is in there just like we described. Now we can go in at this point and we can modify that. So I'll go ahead and say that Wade modify this requirement. Now, if I leave it at that and save that and try to import, it will not show up in my view because remember we've excluded everything that doesn't have the word vehicles in the primary text. So we're going to go back and add the word vehicles. And we'll save that. We can close that now. And I will re-import that information from the spreadsheet that I just exported. And we'll put it in the same folder and we'll update. We will not import new. So we'll select our file and then we'll click finish. Note that within a very short order, we were able to successfully re-import that information. We'll do a little quick refresh here and we'll see that my modification is now in that requirement. That's it. That's how you export data from the Engineering Requirements tool into an Excel spreadsheet. If you've got any questions, please let me know, and have a great day.